Yes, I'm here too. Hello.
And we have Mr. Christophe Collinet. No? All right, maybe he's going to join us later. Okay, so we are going to start. I will really cut short everything to give more time to colleagues around and speakers. So we are here to discuss about connectivity in smart cities and looking at digitization, energy and transport in particular. So I will, before I give the floor to Professor Ramesh Loganathan, I will ask Mr. Sushil Kumar if he's here. No? Yeah, he's here. Right, if you could please come and join us. Yeah. So Mr. Sushil Kumar, Additional Director General Telecom DOT. Mr. Jagan Shah, Resident Senior Fellow ARTA International. Thank you. And Mr. Kishore Narang, Naranix Technology. I think. Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to thank you very much for joining us. So we're starting now. No, I'll be sitting there, so you can. I'm just introducing people, or yeah, maybe you're right. Actually, you can. Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, I know. Sorry, just little logistics, and we're back. All right, so let us start. So we are going to give the floor to Professor Ramesh Loganathan, Professor Co-Innovation and Head Research Outreach, IIT Hyderabad. Professor Ramesh, after 25 years in the product and R&D space, moved to IIT Hyderabad as faculty in 2016. As Professor Co-Innovation, heading the Research Innovation Outreach at IIT Hyderabad, he's helped start and grow the Technology Transfer Office, Co-Innovation Labs, and the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Association with IITH started in 2002, 21 years ago, as adjunct faculty. Also was visiting faculty at IIT Hyderabad Innovation, and a member of governing board of incubators at IIT Hyderabad, and Delhi, and BITS. Prior to academics, he worked in the tech industry, Bay Area, and since 2000 in Hyderabad as product R&D leader. Most recently was the India head of Progress Software. Prior to Progress, he was VP of middleware technologies at Pramati and also headed product engineering. Professor, if you would like to start, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Very happy to be part of this conference, and I wish I was there in the booth in person, but otherwise happy to be here, at least virtually. I have some slides. I don't have permission to share. If I may get the permission, or I can speak without slides either way. Please.
We're trying to set up the sharing with you.
I can get started okay. I don't have a way to share the screen, but There's no share screen option. Okay, I'm just going to speak it. I don't want to waste everybody's time. So good afternoon. I'm going to be talking about an interesting model, again, incidental, initiated by the Indo-EU Standards project back in 18, which has led to something fantastic in the years that followed. It started off with the Indo-EU initiative on ICT standards, so where the project was specifically to get more organizations part of some of the standards, and we got connected on the 1M2M standard, which is a standard for smart cities, generally not in IoT standard, but specifically being pushed and adopted in the smart city areas. And we got connected to that, and the Indo-EU project supported knowledge activities. So essentially, we were doing joint workshops and joint seminars and hackathons and such. Between some labs in the Europe and us, we did some in Delhi and some here at in our campus. And it was to get to know the standard, and then also in that process we got to be part of the standards committee. The main committee as well, one of our faculty is part of the main standards committee, and we also got connected to the India end of the same standard. Now India since then, it was 2018. And last year, Government of India adopted that as a formal BIS standard for smart cities, the 1M2M standard. And one thing led to the other, and we started doing, we said, like, we visited, got a chance to visit the last year's lab in Toulouse, and where they had a whole building that was kind of wired for data, and they had last 7 years of data, which was available for research purposes. It could be kind of energy consumption, their solar panels, solar power generation, and other kinds of data collected continuously and available as a large data set. It was very inclusive. And inspired by that, we came back in 19 and said, why not we do a smart campus here? Get our campus also wired. I mean, we are a 65-acre campus with 2,000 students resident that live and work and study on campus. And we have faculty and staff that also housed on campus. And we have a very large incubator, so we have a lot of people come during the day, including population during the day. So they're all kind of elements of a small city. And so we said, why not we kind of wire the campus and start collecting data and make it available for research and innovation. And then we were already working on the 1M2M standard, so we said, why not we base it on that standard. And so we started some work, and we started to put some sensors initially. We set up a small lab, called it the Smart City Research Lab, and started to work on it. And as we were doing it, in parallel, there was a kind of an initiative to set up a Smart City Living Lab. The National Smart City Mission and Ministry of IT Government of India were both kind of working on, based on an kind of international cooperation agreement signed between the Government of Netherlands and Government of India to replicate the living lab that's there in Amsterdam, the Amsterdam Innovation Arena Living Lab, which is kind of supported by the City of Amsterdam to test out innovations that are applicable to the city. So test it out in the stadium complex, and then before rolling it out widely. And so we were asked if we would be willing to kind of be the living lab in India. And so we were very happy, and very quickly, in about 4-5 months, the proposal got approved, signed off, and in early 2020, the project got awarded to us. And 7-8 months, unfortunately, pandemic got delayed. By end of the year, we had the whole project plan in place, and the living lab got off the ground early 21. And the whole idea is to build a complete, like the vertical that we picked, we had water, we had energy, we had waste, water and waste, we had weather and pollution, and a little bit on kind of city monitoring, roads, transportation and safety. And we have sensors on campus, we have all the whole energy distribution is set up, we have about 80 distribution nodes, all of it is now digitally wired, and data is available through the 1M2M standard into the central kind of data lake and repository. We wired the water quality, water distribution. We got very large, very reasonably large solar power generation on the rooftop, about 70 kilowatt power generation. So we monitor the solar, kind of the irradiance and such, and also the power generation data. We have the wastewater we monitor. We do a little bit of crowd monitoring and pollution. We have a very large pollution modeling and monitoring project where the extended area around the campus, we've got 50 sensors, and we monitor pollution, monitor and model pollution. And so we've got pollution modeling as well. And it took us quite some time to get the sensors because in India, even the wireless sensors are not very common, and if there are, if you do find them, they're very, very expensive. So we get very creative. In some cases, we took analog sensors and just kind of digitized it and made wireless. In other cases, we got normal wired digital sensors and then digital sensors and then made them wireless. And we got multiple protocols on campus. We got a Wi-Fi network for the sensors. We have LoRa network. And then we use a little bit of 4G. Some sensors come on the 4G network. And recently we set up a Wi-Fi network, which is an emerging standard that some companies are pushing for. And works very well for cities, like especially for sensors like water and such, which are generally underground. The sensors and they work very well with either 4G or standards like LoRa. And Wi-Fi works very well. It's a mesh network. There are no towers. Right? Every street lamp post on the road can be the hub. So your sensor need to connect only to the closest lamp post. It's an interesting model, hub and spoke model. So we have a whole Silicon Labs has funded that, and we have the whole campus wired for Bison. So we have 4 different communication standards, and we now just got selected as part of the DOT's 5G use cases lab. So we'll soon have a 5G sensor network as well on campus. So we have the sensors which are digitized and made wireless, with wireless communication, and then on the back end we have a complete one-end-to-one kind of server installation. So all data is pushed through the one-end-to-one standard, which instead Europe is adopting in a big way. France and few other countries are leading the charge, and they're using one-end-to-one extensively as a standard for smart cities. And so all data comes through one-end-to-one standard and comes into the. So it took us about a year and a half just to get the standard sensors in place, data models and such. And now we're beginning to do things with it. So we're supposed to. The research projects underway. Many of our research labs are working on this data and trying to do things around this data. There are startup challenges. So where this data is now available, the whole sensors, the network, and the data are available for startups, either to build their AI models or get their own sensors in and make it available in the standard. And so we run challenges. We've done about 4 startup challenges so far. We also have corporate funding partners. The idea was that like if large companies are involved, there's something more meaningful might come out of this lab. Else it might kind of end up becoming a very academic initiative. So we have Intel, Silicon Labs, and Senkobe already has 3 founding partners. We have a couple of more that we're talking to. So they come with their own challenges and problems and such. Senkobe is working with us on some of the smart lab solutions that they have, and Silicon Labs is working with us on the Bison. So they have one of the first deployment across the world in our campus. Bison is a very, very new standard, less than 2 years old. And so they funded the whole setup of the Bison network on the campus. And so the corporate partners are the other part of it. And the government research. The Smart City Mission is one of the founding partners, and the state of Telangana, the state we are based in, they are a partner, and the city of Hyderabad also is a partner. And then now in recent months we're doing other things, like this whole standard-based solution is showing up in different places. Like for instance, the city of Hyderabad water supply board is now working with us, and they're setting up a water COA in the campus. They want standards based. Like today, when they get digital sensors, each has its own standards, and it's very hard for them to unify. So they're looking at Bison as a communication standard and 112 as a data standard. And so that like once they set up this pilot, in their RFPs, they can insist that the data coming in has to come through the 112 standard. And it becomes much easier for them to kind of interoperate. And so we're working likewise, like I said, the Department of Telecom, Government of India is also looking at for smart city, especially water use cases. The 5 use cases that we have here is that's being set up here is around water. So in the one of the founding objectives of Smart City Mission was to look at this as a mini city, small city, right? And that is now coming today. We're talking to Smart City Mission to see how can we create a ready to deploy package for small cities, like anywhere population of let's say 1 million to half million to a million or even a couple of million population. Small town which there are several thousands of them in the country, trying to create a ready-to-use package of sorts, right? Say that these are the sensors, anybody can supply the sensor, there is water monitoring or water purity or water treatment plant, cleaning of wastewater and such. And so the water can be monitored, and likewise few other parameters, and the data model, the dashboards, and we're just working with them. The first few cities we may deploy soon. So that is I just want to present this case study in the talk of this interesting instrument where we bring all the stakeholders together around this domain of smart cities and around standards and standards-based solution. So I pause here and thank you for the opportunity to present this case study.
Yeah, thank you so much. You've been excellent with time. I mean, I didn't give you the time, but I think each speaker should have about 7 to maximum 8 minutes if we want to have a little interaction. So I will have to interrupt each of you. Have to do this bad job. Sorry for that. Thank you so much again. So now let's give the floor to, so we'll have each presentation and then we open up for question and answers. Mr. Roland H. Wartner, Chairman of the 1M2M Technical Plenary. Roland works in the Standards, Patents and OSPO team in the Group Technology of Deutsche Telekom, where he's responsible for standardization activities in the service domain. He's also part of the open source program of his team. Roland joined the Department of Systems Engineering of Max Mobile, later T-Mobile Austria, in 1999 as project manager for mobile data solutions, introducing GPRS and related data services into Max Mobile network. Since 2002, he's been working as delegate for Deutsche Telekom in several standardization organizations, starting with focus on messaging, 3GPP, OMA, later shifting to device management and LOT. He joined 1M2M as delegate in 2012. He was elected for the 1M2M Technical Plenary Chairman position in 2018 and re-elected in 2020 and in 2022. Before, he has served as Vice Chairman of the Technical Plenary for 2 terms. 2014 to 2018. Roland, please, the floor is yours for about 7 to max 8 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for this kind introduction, and thanks also to Professor Ramesh Loganathan. So in his use case, he explained also mainly why, how you can use 1M2M with layers. I will briefly show you the main goal and use case of 1M2M in relationship to smart cities. And that. Yeah, it works. I keep it brief. The why these cities want to be smart. It's the main goal is to raise the quality of life for citizens. The complexity of that undertaking is, if you look at the city, even a small city, there are various devices, sensors installed. You would like to create intelligent transport systems, smart grids, public safety systems, you call it. There are many already installed technologies, and how to get all these data working together to understand each other, all these devices and sensors, how to control, manage that. That's technically an issue, but also psychologically for some of the people. So the acceptance to provide such services requires usually also some legal framework to build trust in such solutions. It needs to be economically feasible, it needs scalability. This is usually based on interoperable services and not only on technical standards, but also the data layer to understand data, the data of all these players. It needs to be secure. You need to ensure security and all these access control policies that it cannot be handled with. So, and it should be sustainable in a way that you need to take into care life cycle management and life cycles of several decades. When it comes to infrastructure that is deployed in such a city. And how to deal with that is not easy, and many projects, many research projects, many programs tend to think that such an ecosystem should be based on open standards, complemented with certification programs in order to get, since such things are essential for the acceptance and wide adoption. Since it needs to be controllable, it needs to be also easily explained that data is used and it's securely used also to apply to all the privacy regulations, etc., etc. So it's not only a technological challenge, in some it's also a challenge of acceptance in the society. What does one-to-one bring to such an ecosystem? The point I'd like to highlight here is that one-to-one is capable of linking such distributed components and technologies in such end-to-end IoT systems. Why this is possible? So from the very beginning, one-to-one was designed to interwork with existing technologies, knowing that you don't start from the scratch. You usually have systems installed. So we started with more use cases. Even I think in 2012, home and some technologies within that could be related to smart cities, but it became all these domain-specific use cases were discussed, were analyzed, and then several core functions were defined, functions that might be useful for all the applications on top of infrastructure nodes in the cloud, but also on devices, gateways as such. Functions like registration, communication management, or security discovery, or what you need in order to put some new sensors into this system, and the sensor can be detected, it can register, and the data can be used and it can be controlled. So all these use cases are defined, and specific service functions are defined. This picture shows now how you might start in such an environment. You have this common service layer, depicts this software layer with these common service functions, and that sits on top all the connectivity technologies that are there, the proprietary, the wide area networks like all the 3GPP-defined networks or LoRa, etc. Wireless LAN, whatever could be deployed in such systems. It could be also technology that is in-house, in buildings, whatsoever. So on top of that, you have such a service layer, as I said. It's deployed from devices, sensors towards the cloud, the infrastructure. Connected on top of that are applications on the infrastructure side, like for example here such controller, it's called here legacy controller, since it might be an already installed controller. So you have an interworking proxy, as we call it, interworking function towards applications that are not standardized or that are not following the one standard. And you have the same as it's depicted here, linked to some streetlights. And the data of some municipalities. You start with that, and this standard allows you to roll out new systems, to integrate with new systems that might be then one-on-one based. You can also on the infrastructure side introduce new dashboards, but you can also integrate and connect data to new applications in areas that are emerging or some analytic systems. Here we could think on all the applications that might be in future introducing AI capabilities, machine learning whatsoever. So this is the goal, and such things can be enabled with this standard. A short view on the timeline. Just to
Roland,
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, just to hope you don't have too many slides left, because
No.
Christoph has joined in the end, so he will also follow you. He's online and he doesn't have too much time, I've heard. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. This would have been my. I have one more slide, but I keep it very short. So I need 2 more minutes.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
So, yeah. Okay. From this slide, I only want to point out so many activities. It's not only the specifications of this standard. We have in addition interoperability events, so specifications, testing, and also relation to certification. Although we don't do the certification, it's GCF is the certification body. And in addition, we have also some hackathon events. You heard, I put the hackathon, but this is one of those who had such hackathon events. And what specifications of one of them were also transposed by ITT study group 20. You can see here, it's already there, so it's part of the ITT standards. And the very recent activity that I wanted to highlight here, also as a reach out and invitation to academia, it's called the Academia Relation Group, where we have gathered several universities from North America, Europe, and Asia, especially South Korea, to come together and either work with these specifications, define some student programs, and at the end maybe also feedback to the specification as such to improve it and to maintain some of the tools we have. Having said that, my last slide here, it's an outlook of what we are currently planning for our latest release. So 4 releases are already done, so we are working currently on release 5, and it covers many of the use cases that came in from existing smart city deployments. It's methodologies to enable AI, so provide clean data to support data protection regulations, data license management. So typical use cases and functionalities that are requested by cities. Not to mention the public warning system enabler, but I will not read out this. The slides are distributed. You can have a read in the backup to find much more information and links, and I'm always happy to receive any requests if you have further questions. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Roland. Thank you for spinning up at the end. So, Christoph, just to check if you're there. Totally was there.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
I was just muted.
Yeah. So just I understand we want to rush, so I'm not going to give your full bio, but just one thing for the participants here. So Christophe Collinet is the Smart City Project Manager for Bordeaux Metropolis, one of the largest cities in France, since 2016, and is coordinating European projects, and more specifically sharing cities, a European Horizon 2020 project, Lighthouse project. He's the Bordeaux representative within the Eurocities Digital Forum. Okay, thank you. Christophe, the floor is yours, and the game, you understood, 7 to 8 minutes max. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I will really try to keep in time. Thank you very much for welcoming me here, because it's the third time I'm with you. I was there for the first event, and for the second one, I think I wasn't there for the third, but I'm here for the fourth. Unfortunately, not in face-to-face, but at least I can reach out to you through technology. So I don't know if you can see my screen, my presentation. Do you see it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. Yeah. It's coming. We have it.
Good. Okay, thank you very much. I will try to illustrate a little bit what Roland just said before in the real world, in a specific case, which is the case of a city in France, which name is Bordeaux. And first of all, I wanted just to clarify why interoperability is key for us, and what is exactly interoperability. In fact, interoperability is maybe a generic concept that needs to be clarified in the context of my presentation today. And indeed, we could evoke a framework of legal interoperability in the case of a European Court of Justice, for example, but or cultural interoperability in the case of a common culture linked to history or religion. In this case, I'd like to focus on two types of interoperability. The technical interoperability, of course, and which relates to hardware and software interfaces linked to ICTs, and semantic interoperability, which consists in giving a common meaning and definition to the terms we use. And also to illustrate the benefits of technical interoperability for us, I'd like to describe a complex information system linked to the implementation of a seamless mobility service. This information system goes on numerous software bricks themselves derived from multiple partners, both from the public or the private sector. You understand that the benefits of interoperability seem quite obvious in this case, so far as each software brick exchanges information with one or other software bricks. The result for the user depends on the entire processing chain. In this case, as is often the case in the daily life, where one of the partners disappears or withdraws from the market, it is essential not to have to rebuild everything, but simply to provide the definition of the interface. And to give you a few complementary examples from the daily life, the recent standardization of the USB-C charger as a single interface for recharging smartphones, laptops, and other small devices will save tons of copper every year and mean that we only have to use one type of charger for all our devices. Likewise, the 6G will continue the trend towards seamless cell phone connectivity on a global scale that began with the launch of GSM and 3GPP in the 80s. And finally, as I'm with you today, I couldn't fail to mention the implementation of a vehicle charging station of two different types, Chinese and Japanese in Delhi, simply to address the problem of incompatibility between the two types. In the local authority sector, a wide range of tasks are carried out, from roads and public transport to water, sanitation, refuse collection, security, and so on. The information system of these different professions are often disconnected from one another, and the data from these systems is managed by suppliers according to their own norms and standards. These norms and standards differ from one sector to another, and if local authorities are to regain the ability to steer their public policies, it is essential to aggregate, compare, and evaluate all these data collected. Failing with which there will be an immediate loss of sovereignty on the part of local authorities, and on the other end, in order to collect, aggregate, and compare the data, business information system, numerous interfaces need to be put in place to collect and standardize these data. We understand that these software interfaces need to be updated very frequently, and that this requires an enormous amount of process and engineering, which is incompatible with a low-tech responsible digital vision we wish to promote. So, to go back to what to write, which is also good to fix the integral of the issues I just displayed, to be able to meet these challenges and this cross-sectoral vision of our missions, we chose in order to have to promote well-informed standards to free ourselves from these business constraints. This enables us to interconnect devices directly using variety of standards, like, for example, backnet, modbus, DALI for public and for smart lighting and so on, and via different telecom interfaces, GSM, Wi-Fi, LoRaWAN, and so on, and to collect data agnostically. The process is very simple for us, as all we have to do is just specify that the solution proposed by our suppliers must be compliant with one-to-one specifications. We have already been able to put this principle to the test as part of the Smart Light project in 2017, and we have repeated the experience as part of a national call for the national call for project on the energy renovation of buildings in 2022. The project worth 5 million euros, for which we were the winning bidder and recipient of a grant of over 2 million euros. And this is also the European Commission approach. On a European scale, local authorities are keen to have a direct exchange with the Commission bodies in order to share their needs in the implementation of smart city solutions. This is the reason why the Living in the EU initiative was set up in 2020. It is a fruit of collaboration between 5 non-governmental associations representing local authorities, including universities and the of course the Commission. In very concrete terms, this initiative supports 5 working groups led by elected people, mayors, or their representatives to work on the themes of financing, training, legal, KPIs, and the last but not the least, technical aspects of smart city implementation. Joining and contributing to this work is voluntary, but the feedback and exchanges between peers are so rich that the organizers are now a little overwhelmed by the number of participants. As part of the technical and interoperability working group, of which I am an active member, have defined the concept of minimum interoperability mechanisms. In fact, in the group, we realized that it was not necessary to standardize the entire value chain with smart city solutions, but that certain interfaces were key and should be standardized. To sum up, 2 key interfaces were identified, let's say. The one concerning data collection, sensors, and the one concerning the exploitation of collected data centralized in the data lake. As you can see from the side, one issue has been identified by the working group as one of the solutions meeting the needs principle mentioned. And to conclude, these principles also enable us to rapidly develop the solutions for measuring urban thermal comfort involved, and at the Smart City Awards held in Barcelona, in Spain, at the beginning of November, and the Smart City Expo World Congress, this solution was awarded the prize for the best smart city solutions of the year in the field of energy and the environment. We are increasingly convinced that thanks to the technical specifications offered by one employer, we are gaining in time, agility, and sustainability to develop solutions, especially for smart cities, which are compatible with the climate change we are facing. I hope I've enriched your thoughts on this subject, and thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah, thank you very much, Christophe. Thanks a lot. So now the next speakers, now we have the three physical speakers, so we have the last three presentations, and then we will start the Q&A session. So our next speaker is Shri Sushil Kumar, Additional Director General Telecom DOT. Mr. Sushil Kumar is an officer of 1987 batch of Indian Telecommunication Services. He's done his graduation in Electronics and Communication Engineering in 1987 and Master in Computer Science and Technology in 1989 from University of Roorkee, presently known as Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee. With more than 30 years of experience in telecom, IoT and ICT, he is presently working as Additional Director General Telecom for Northeast LSA at Shillong. Prior to this, he worked in TEC as Deputy Director General. Yeah. Okay. Let's go. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think presentation you can run, and you give me the pointer for changing the slides. Yeah, how to do? How to change it? Not working. Yeah, good afternoon. It's my pleasure and honor to share my views on the IoT and ICT technologies, creating a smart infrastructure for the smart cities and a large number of various verticals. So IoT is one of the most emerging technology being used to create the smart infrastructure in various verticals, say power, automotive, intelligent transport system, then the healthcare, safety and surveillance, waste management, then water management, smart homes, etc. And these smart homes and some of these verticals will work as a pillar for the smart cities. So smart cities will be having number of verticals, but how to integrate these verticals for sharing of data across the verticals. Next. For sharing of data between the verticals and between the smart city platforms, that is a very important and key items, and probably IIT Hyderabad and 1M2M chair as well as the previous speaker, they have spoken about the 1M2M standards, that is said to be the first standards in the IoT domain, which in which we are having the common service layers, and this common service layer will provide a facility to share the data and also having the registrations and other features for the platform. So this ITU definition has defined this IoT as a global infrastructure, and it is in ITU-T Y.2060. Then almost all the communication technologies, whether it is non-cellular or cellular, can be used for the IoT domain. And the main challenge in the IoT domain, that is like the robust connectivity is required. The platform should have the open interfaces and interoperability. That is one of the biggest challenges as on date, as most of the platforms in the smart cities, they are built on proprietary standards, and they cannot share the data in real time between the platforms as well as between the verticals. So this challenge was also highlighted in the Horizon 2020, the document which was released by the European Union sometime in 2017, and it is really good to hear that they are also using the 1M2M platform for fixing the challenges. So now what India has done and what TEC and DOT has done in policy and the standards, so that we can have a look. But this is not working here. So you move next slide. Next. So this is a pictorial view how the devices can be connected, and all the use cases, whether they are working on 5G or other communication technologies, they are the IoT use cases. Next one. Next slide. This ITU has defined from this picture we can see the IoT platform, that is the smart city platform. They say it is the brain of the city, and if we want to keep the smart city smart for a long time, then we have to keep the platform based on the standards, and 1M 2M standard that is the first standards across the globe on which the platform can be built up. And time to time these specification can be upgraded so that the platform can adopt various applications to be which may come in future. And next slide. So these are next one. So DOT has released the policy NDCP, National Digital Communication Policy, in 2018, and which has included the 5G, artificial intelligence, robotics, Internet of Things, cloud computing, and M2M, and the various verticals on which the department has to carry forward the work. Then further, the National Telecom M2M roadmap was released in 2015. Prior to this, M2M service provider registration policy have also been released in 2022. Then TEC, which is the technical arm of DOT, has worked on the IoT domain, M2M IoT domain, from 2013 onwards. And I started the work from the zero level in TEC in 2013, and till October 2023. We have carried out the work in this domain, and after that, on promotion, I joined as a additional DG in Shillong. So this the work which have been carried out in the last 10 years that in the IoT domain is mainly briefed in this presentation. So next slide. In TEC, we created the multi-stakeholder working groups to study the domain and further release the technical reports in sync with global standardization bodies such as ITU, ISO, IEC, ITC, 1M, 2M, 3GPP, IEEE, etc. And we released the 20 technical reports covering various verticals. Then the communication technologies, EMF radiation from the IoT devices, and IoT security. And in these technical reports, like in the power sector, we released 2 documents, and further 1 document is in progress on the smart grid. So this M2M enablement in power sector, and then next one, the spectrum requirement for PLC and low power RF communication. And based on this recommendation, the 1 megahertz spectrum was released by DOT in 865 to 867, adding 1 megahertz to 868. Then the automotive sector, 4 to 5 documents have been released, and in the communication technology, we released 3 documents in it, and 1 on M2M gateway and architecture. And further, in the security domain, we released 4 documents in this. Next. So all these work has been briefed in TEC initiatives and M2M IoT domain, an overview, and it is available on TEC website. And some of the documents, like the technology and standards for intelligent transport system, as well as security by design for IoT device manufacturers, these documents have been appreciated globally. And out of these documents, 6 documents are available on ITU website. And there is a number of outcomes from these documents. Next slide. Like 13-digit numbering scheme for SIM-based devices that was developed by us, then embedded SIM, it is the part of AIS 140, and that is being used for the connected vehicle scenario across the country. And it has been mandated by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, and also by the Bureau of Indian Standards. Then the IPv6 or dual stack, it is the part of the BIS standard IS 16444. Then the common service layer, in it we have already adopted the 1M2M release 2 and release 3 as a national standard, and which has been incorporated by the BIS in its standards for the IoT reference architecture, and further it which has been included by Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, MoHUA, in its RFP for the smart cities. Then the spectrum for cellular V2X, it has been mentioned, it has been earmarked recently around 6 months back, and Niti Aayog formed a committee around 3 years back to finalize the technology for the intelligent transport system, and after that the one policy paper was also floated. One note has been sent by DOT to Ministry of Road Transport and Highways to work on to create a group of industry as well as the government officers to finalize the use cases for the India based on cellular V2X technology. So these are some of the important work which have been going on, and then the IoT security is also one of the important work, because when there will be billions of devices, the hacking of the devices will create issues in the smart infrastructure. Next slide. Then this I've already mentioned, IIIT Hyderabad has already developed one M2M based platform in release 2, and similarly CDAC is also having on release 2. CDOT is having on release 3. Now it is required to see the interoperability between the release 2 and release 3 platforms, and whether the one M2M based platform can work with the non-one M2M based platform, so that the standards based solutions can be provided in future. Similarly, this U4 SSC KPIs have been adopted. Some of the KPIs have been adopted by Niti Aayog and further by the this MoHUA. Next slide. This regarding intelligent transport system, the technology and standards for intelligent transport system, it was released in October 2023, and this document has been appreciated by industry not only in India but across the various countries, and it is having the study of the ITU, 3GPP, APT, IEEE, ITSC, ISO, SAE, 5G AA, and a number of use cases have been mentioned in this. One of the green corridor which was created on DSRC technology in Ahmedabad on 700 megahertz, as well as on CV2X, some of the trials have been done in Hyderabad. They have been listed in this, and some of the international use cases and trials are also the part of this document. In India, as no technology has been adopted, therefore cellular V2X technology should be adopted, which is the recommendation of this document, and the spectrum has already been earmarked in this. Next slide. This is next slide. Yeah. So this yeah, sure. V2V, V2I, and V2P infrastructure that can be created in the cellular V2X. Now come to next slide. These are some of the use cases which can be created in the country for the 5G technology in automotive sector. Next slide. Now, security is a big issue in the for the smart infrastructure, and on this TEC has in TEC we have released 3 technical reports: security by design for IoT device manufacturers, framework of National Trust Center on which CDOT is already working, and code of practice for securing consumer IoT. And these security by design document has given the this cyber security labeling scheme for the IoT devices. And in fact, we have developed this labeling scheme even before so many other countries, and it is based on the study of the IoTSF, Cyber Security Agency Singapore, NIST Standard 8425. Next slide. Yeah, next. This is the cyber security labeling scheme, and yesterday I had given a presentation to the Quad countries. It will be good to adopt this labeling scheme, because it will not be practically possible to frame the security specifications for the millions of devices, because when there will be billions of devices, the devices may be millions of in categories. So based on this, the testing mechanism can be created, and this similar type of labeling scheme is expected to come in ISO IEC document 274002, which is in draft stage and will be released around after 1.5 years. So it is based on various study of the national and international standards. Next slide. And now you can see the code of practice for securing consumer IT, and World Economy Forum, which has studied the cyber security related issues in the IoT devices. They have mentioned that the 5 principles should be followed by the manufacturers, and like A to E mentioned on the right side. But initially, Indian industries can follow the first 3 standards: no universal default password, implementing vulnerabilities disclosure policy, and keeping software updates. So initially they can follow. The security cannot be built up overnight. This, if we start following today by the manufacturers and other people, then we can say that after 2 to 3 years we can have the secure ecosystem in the country. So National Trust Center that is being built up by the CDOT, we hope that it can be implemented within 2 to 3 years time. So DOT has already endorsed the code of practice for securing consumer IT to all the M2M service providers and the other stakeholders to follow at least the first 3 guidelines. And it's my view that once the first 3 guidelines are followed by the manufacturers, then we can add further guidelines. And the cyber security labeling scheme, as well as the recommendation of the security by design document, they are being implemented in the security specifications by the NCCS Bangalore for the to create the security requirements for the IoT devices for India. Next slide. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. So I think I'll cut short the presentations to give you more time. So the next speaker is Sri Jagan Shah, Resident Senior Fellow, ARTA International. Just one line, Jagan Shah is a Senior Fellow at ARTA Global Mumbai and Distinguished Fellow at the Infravision Foundation, New Delhi. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess the more appropriate introduction to me would be that I was involved in designing the Smart Cities mission of the Government of India when I was heading the National Institute of Urban Affairs, NIUA, which is mentioned in the release document. I'm not going to show any slides. I'm just going to take a few minutes to share some reflections. I don't come from the standard side. I come from the policy side. In a sense, standards are a necessary condition for achieving policy goals, and I work on those policy goals. And from that perspective, I think to start with, I think it's very heartening to see that the ecosystem has evolved over the last roughly 7 to 8 years to such a point that we are now talking about integrating, collaborating and cooperating across boundaries between India and EU, and actually sharing best practices in a much more concrete way. When we started thinking about the Smart Cities mission in 2014, this was still a conversation that needed to be pushed really hard because it wasn't happening, and I'm really happy to see that we're having this kind of a conference. A few thoughts to share, because I feel there are challenges to integration and standardization which still need to be addressed, and perhaps some of the systems design issues which create those challenges would be worth focusing on. First and foremost, I've been working on green public procurement systems, and India is moving very fast towards digital procurement systems, and that is a very important entry point into the standards conversation. Mr. Sushil Kumar just mentioned something about the way that specifications were entered by the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs into their procurements for the Smart Cities mission. This is the control point. This is where the rubber hits the road. If specifications do not include the right kinds of standards, you do not achieve actually the action on ground. So procurement systems, which are not actually addressed very well in this report, do need to be included very much in our conversation on policy. There is there is an enormous thrust right now on creating a single market mechanism across the country, and we need to learn from the European Union's creation of a unified market in the EU region. The GST platform, for instance, which is the only real mechanism by which all of India has been united, that platform is yielding data and yielding insight, which is yet to be fully understood. But what it does show to us is that, again, the transactional aspects of the Indian economy are precisely where a lot of the entry points might be for us to address the whole conversation on standards. And for people who are into the research and R&D aspects of this, I would recommend that they certainly look at this aspect more closely. I'm surprised to see that we're not having enough conversation about India's huge world-renowned expertise on creating digital public infrastructure and digital public goods. DPGs, as they're called, are a good that the European Union recognizes, and there are countries in Europe that themselves are developing similar kinds of systems, and countries like Estonia, of course, have taken it to its logical extent. But this becomes really crucial when we talk about the scaling up that is required. We are talking about India, which is a country which is the most populous country in the world, and therefore the scale at which these smart technologies and interoperability needs to be implemented is quite staggering, and therefore we need to keep in mind that while there are similarities in the two markets, EU and India, there are also huge differences. And I think one very big difference is the rate of growth. And interoperability, standards, all of this is great when you're talking about, say, for instance, a context like IIIT Hyderabad, where there is a campus and it is a contained environment with boundaries. But the moment you look at the urban sector in India, it's almost a completely boundless, continuously growing organism. And in that kind of system, how do you maintain standards, or how do you implement standards, except if you do it right at the outset, if technologies are designed in order to comply with standards. And therefore, the role of OEMs, the role of manufacturing level standardization is really crucial, not necessarily the systems integration through the operational systems that cities might need to put up. So in that fundamental sense, we need to understand the difference. I do also understand that in our conversations we tend to not address the digital divide that exists, because again, Europe probably does not face this digital divide, but in India, in the smart cities, when we looked at just the 100 smart cities, we found that close to 40% of that population did not have regular access to digital devices like computers, and certainly had mobile phones but did not have connectivity all the time, and so on and so forth. So there is a barrier here to digital access itself, which India needs to address. But I think the DOT, for instance, is making great progress on making sure that every Indian citizen has access. So that also has changed over the last 7 years in a very positive way. Just a few quick thoughts about some priority areas which we are trying to address in India, which make a difference to the economic development of the country. One will be the ability for us to transfer some kind of green credits or carbon credits to the consumer themselves, a reward mechanism, not just a city as an entity capturing the gains from efficiencies and decarbonization, but individual consumers also, and communities gaining from it. And how do we make that possible? That requires a huge level of data integration and data management. The smart metering, whether it is of water, electricity, all levels of smart metering are really crucial. I'm currently involved in a electric smart meter pilot in the only city in the country that has piloted a smart metering system, Chennai, in 3 of their municipal wards. And the kinds of data that is coming out of that system is quite staggering, but we still don't have the capabilities to actually analyze it and turn it into policy inputs that are necessary. Microgrids, the decentralization is the crucial story here, and therefore, how do you make that decentralization happen with inclusion? It's one thing for companies to decentralize the entire renewable energy infrastructure, but what about the last miles? What about those small villages where it needs to also be implemented? And there, it is not likely to be that the larger urban-based companies are operating. How does the consumer become a producer as well and get integrated into the grid? This is a crucial thing. I think in terms of cross-border energy, the International Solar Alliance is one of India's big plays on the international scene, and several European countries are very much stakeholders in that. The One Sun, One World, One Grid initiative is exactly about trans-border sharing and stabilizing, actually, of renewable grids, and that needs to be looked at, and again is not mentioned in the report. One of the last things I want to say is that Niti Aayog, India's premier sort of think tank for the government of India, has several years ago initiated this whole talk about plug-and-play infrastructure. And I think that currently is, of course, being talked about in terms of battery swapping and battery charging infrastructure, but that needs to permeate across the system, mainly because we are trying to make transitions towards decarbonization and make shifts in people's use of technology, and that shift means that you're dealing with a very large proliferation of all kinds of levels of technology and qualities of machinery and devices. And so in order to accommodate that large diversity, we need to really think about how to look at plug-and-play kind of interface where that integration can begin to take place, and where also consumer choice can begin to be influenced, because behavior change is actually one of our big challenges. The change from going for second, third generation kind of, not generation, but second-hand, third-hand kind of devices to actually buying original devices, that change, unless it happens, you will always be burdened with very inefficient devices coming into the system and very difficult to manage. My last point is that to come back to procurement, is that increasingly contracts are going to be given out as bundles of say, for instance, if you're giving an EPC contract for a city street redevelopment, then that street redevelopment includes telecom networks, includes electricity, includes various other kinds of networks embedded in the street, as well as, of course, the hardware of the street itself, light poles and such like. And when those kinds of bundled contracts become more the norm, how are we going to write those specifications into the procurement systems is going to be a big question. So I'm going to stop there because, I think these are the key thoughts I thought I'd put on the table. I'm happy to be the only real policy person talking here, but that's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jagan. I think you shed a different type of light, which is very needed, and I think we'll have another different type of light coming here. I will just say one word. Yep, sorry. So, yeah, where are you? Kishore. Yeah, Kishore Narang. So Kishore is a technology advisor, mentor, design strategist, and architect in electronics, and ICT for over 45 years. So he says he doesn't need it, but a lot of...
I think people know me around. Okay. In India, at least, people know me around, and so I don't need any introduction. And till we get the system up. So I think what I'm going to talk is... as you all know, I'm a system design architect, as well as now into big time into standardization for last 15 years. And my focus is on the digital infrastructure, end-to-end comprehensive. Okay. So what I'm going to talk about is only two things. I'm going to touch upon initially our National Smart City Mission's approach and thought process, just to contextualize what kind of standardization initiatives we have taken in India I being the founding chair of a smart infrastructure committee responsible for developing the standards, end-to-end standards, including the architectures for the smart city, to say. But I think before we get into the topic of smart city and standardization or policies, I think I'd like to touch upon a few current imperatives that are very, very important to contextualize today. Yes, we started this work maybe 8-10 years back. Some of these topics might not have been prominent, but today I think whatever we look at, we need to look at in the context of this current landscape and imperatives. We all are talking climate change. I'm not going to run through all these, but climate change, energy security, clean and green energy, energy efficiency, electricity access, global digital population, which is growing every day, okay? Then digital transformation. But then when we talk about digital transformation, we also need to look at the growing carbon footprint of digital infrastructure. Then, along with the digitalization and digital transformation, what comes very important is meaningful, safe digital life for the citizens of the world. And the transformation from Industry 4.0 to Industry 5.0 with sustainability at the forefront. And whatever kind of society we may lead, sustainability and resilience is one of the, you can say, foundational cornerstones that we need to keep in mind. Whatever digital infrastructure, smart standard that we bring on the table, they need to, and then last but not the least, how do we control the greenwashing that's all underway? Having said that, what does it show? The evolution we never expected. And on the other hand, at the bottom you see we are talking all futuristic technologies. And that brings the question is the future of life on Earth. And we have seen that in the last couple of centuries, the technologies that have evolved are responsible for all this environmental catastrophe that we are facing today. A lot of people think that we are on the verge of, there's no way back. But I think when technology has created these problems, I think it has solutions also for this. But all the same, we need to use our ingenuity. Because today nature no longer runs the earth. We do. And climate is not politically strong enough to fight the carbon itself. And with this context, let's get on to our national initiative on the smart cities. And the background, as you all know, it is all about 100 city pilots with 100 million people to be affected. And these are imperatives which you already know. And we were talking about, we call it a mission transformation, we don't call it a mission of smart cities or whatever. Okay, and it is all about that Indian smart cities are evolving as connected, livable, energy efficient, adaptive and resilient cities using cutting edge emerging technologies. And these are some of the basically 3 core issues that our smart cities address: ease of living, economic ability and sustainability. And for this, we have these mission projects on quality of life, economic ability, sustainability, and through the smart cities framework, we are looking at the services, finance, planning, technology, and governance. But at the core of it is all about data. And there are some other initiatives of the government on these particular aspects: urban resilience, smart governance, connected communities, competitiveness, and ease of living. And for this, all focus is on data, data, and data. And you all know, and these are a lot of initiatives on data itself. So, sorry. Yeah, so these are a lot of already collaterals that are developed and initiatives on the data side. And basically, our mission has a strategy to institutionalize the culture of data in Indian cities and to assess and tap the potential of data in cities and driven innovation city data officers. Every city has a data officer who is the flag bearer of the Open Data Initiative. And I think some people have already talked about the Urban Data Exchange in the morning, I think in one of the sessions. And it is all about that. And now let me bring that how the work in BIS, our National Standards body, has tried to dovetail or meet the imperatives expectation of our mission. So if you look at the features of a smart city, these were some of the 24 features identified by our Minister of Housing and Urban Affairs way back. And when we look at them as a ICT IoT lens, we see that they are all the ICT IoT has opportunities, all these domains, verticals. I'm getting distracted, please, sorry. And ICT and IoT has opportunities in all these use cases. But what is the problem? The problem is if you take a sample business case of the smart infrastructure, like everybody talked about today also, that we are looking at 250 million smart meters under National Smart Grid Mission beyond smart city. We are looking at so many, about 100 plus million smart street light. And every vertical, if we start adding smart water, smart sewage, smart environment, all these, we actually come up with a figure of up to 5 to 10 billion communication modules and about 10 to 50 million gateways that we are going to need for our civic and critical infrastructure, not talking about any private enterprise business applications. But this is a big number. Do we see it? No. Why? Because the market is totally fragmented. Different communication technologies, protocols, they have, overtaken all this and fragmented the whole market. Because current applications also live in silos. So what is the way forward? What do? We need to look at the interoperability between these silos, and this is a very famous for this thing, that we need interoperability at all the layers, right from the business layer, function layer, information layer, communication layer, and the component layer itself. And how do we achieve it? If you look at the simplified ICT architecture of this thing, these are some the layers that the data flows through from devices to the all the dashboards, and from where the government or the stakeholders can take some insights and actionable insights. So if you look at this, the layer of the information flow, so these are the 7 layers, the equivalent OSI model, and we map it with a smart infrastructure philosophy, these 4 pillars that our mission had identified: physical infrastructure, social infrastructure, economic, and institutional infrastructure. What we see is only these 2 upper layers, need to change, or as part of the user's requirement to derive value from different infrastructure pillars, but the ICT or IoT backbone can, or rather should, remain the same. So what do? We need to look at how do we now make it a unified architecture. So we came up with this kind of an approach, that whatever are the common layers, can we compress them into one common layer and common this thing? And that's what we did, and came up with this kind of a unified architecture. And this is basically, we call it a classic saucer champagne glass architecture model, because instead of hourglass architecture that is very famous in internet parlance, and even 1M2M, we talk about one common narrow hourglass architecture with a very short narrow neck there. We identified 4 different macro layers that needs to be standardized, and that could be bring the interoperability. And those 4 layers are unified last mile communication, standardized gateways, then common service layer in the gateways as well as in the cloud, and then smart city middleware, including the urban data exchange, common data layer, and other lot of things. And this basically architecture, or the model, talks about this as the bottom base depicts the multitude of field devices and sensors, and saucer-shaped bowl on the top depicting being filled with ever-increasing spectrum of city applications and citizen services. The long stem depicts all the common layers: the unified last mile communication, common standardized gateways, application or vertical agnostic, common service layer representing the common service functions in the gateways as well as in the cloud. And I think 1M2M has been talked about enough. I'll not elaborate much. It is all about 1M2M, this common service layer. And as well as the smart city middleware and city data reservoir in the cloud. Now, it is this long stem of the champagne glass model instead of the short and narrow neck in the hourglass model that brings comprehensive harmonization, standardization, and interoperability in the architecture, leading to optimization in operational efficiency and life cycle cost of the ICT infrastructure in any smart city. The architecture model, beyond reducing significantly the capital expenditure, the operational expenditure, and carbon footprint of the digital infrastructure, enables a unified and well-architected infrastructure that can be easily designed to be comprehensively resilient and cyber secure also. So, and beyond this, this is all about the upper layer. There's another major gap which we identified in BIS is about the OT and IoT, this thing. What we realized that there is evidently a glass wall barrier between communication protocols and standards for IoT applications and that of infrastructure and industrial use cases, popularly called OT applications. In spite of evidence appreciation of strengths and weaknesses of both the classes of standard, there has been no initiatives by any global SDO or industry consortium on this aspect. And we thought it's time to break this wall. And we took an exercise in this direction to break this thing and come up with a unified last mile communication protocol stack reference architecture. And this is a typical, I'm not going into much detail, but what we came up with was that in this reference architecture, what we realized that different communication technologies, whether mesh, whether point-to-point, whether cellular, whether any other 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G, any combination, or even wired, even wireless, they all can interwork seamlessly as long as we have our common application layer and where we can do. And we have standardized this stack. And you heard about Wyson mesh, this thing, that is part of our standardized stack for the RF mesh, but it can work across this thing, different kind of use cases, topologies and all that, because for interoperability, what we need is an application layer, L4, 5, 6, and 7. We need to standardize. We have standardized data models. We have standardized the application layer. We have standardized the device management standard, which is the 1M2M, LWM2M is our device management standard. So based on these initiatives, I can show you, these is a rather dated list. Yeah, I'm finishing. Okay. I'm just on the conclusion. This is a very dated this thing. We already have another 10, 15 more standards already published from BIS around the smart city by this LITD 28 committee. And what exactly did we learn out of this? I think based on these initial set of system standards already published, cities are being encouraged to update their respective deployment strategies by including these standards in the future solution RFPs. The various guidelines, indices, and maturity and assessment frameworks are being recalibrated to ensure compliances to these standards. The technology, product, system, solution providers are aligning their respective offerings to comply to the published standards, and these standards have enabled the sustainable digital transformation of urban landscape by enabling optimization of digital infrastructure in a technology agnostic, vendor agnostic manner, opening the floodgates of structured innovation by academia, researchers, startups, and industry at large. These initiatives have actually created a healthy competitive environment for the industry with level playing field for big and small enterprise, leading to new synergies among innovative startups and large organizations to collaborate to develop standard-based technology solutions for smart cities. These standards actually have been developed in accordance with the practice principles at the IEC. We did some work on the smart city reference architecture methodology and smart city reference architecture. We leverage those global practices here, and we are now bringing this unified digital infrastructure architecture standards back to the global SDOs. So basically, what do we learn from these? These standards shall help bring lifecycle cost of digital infrastructure down substantially because of the standard-based interoperable system components available through multiple vendors, along with making resilient and cybersecurity and trustworthiness. The 100 smart cities acting as a living lab and test beds for innovation have provided a vast body of knowledge based on actionable insights to city planners, administrators, technology solution providers, and deployers to bring comprehensive homogeneity in the heterogeneous and fragmented ecosystem. However, it is still work in progress, and continuous new learnings are being imbibed to leverage in updating the national standardization strategy and roadmap for sustainable digital transformation of urban landscape. So the last key takeaway is that we need to rethink when we talk about smart cities, prioritization of infrastructure. The premise of smart city has evolved from a technology-centric project to one that leverages technology to create sustainable and citizen-centric environment. It is no longer enough to simply to deploy sensors. Companies and government need to demonstrate meaningful impact on the population. Keeping pace with the challenges presented by COVID-19 and other imperatives, escalating sustainability commitments, and ongoing population growth will require unprecedented urban investment and innovation. We see digital infrastructure as pivotal to smart city evolution. I think I'll not bore you with this, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
For this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so I would like to thank all the speakers. I'm not very sure how long we have for discussion because we're quite behind schedule, but how long do we have? Do we know?
If you have any questions within the...
Anybody wants to ask any questions to the panelists? Make any comment? Everything was clear?
There's a question. There's one.
Yeah. Margot?
Bonjour.
Yeah.
C'est bon? Oui, bonjour. Good afternoon. One of the speakers, although online, talked about the challenge of acceptance in society. And it's true that for much of the, we've been talking about smart cities for a long time. And it's true that in some of the areas, it looks like, whether it's for transport, for example, it looks like this remains one of the key challenges. It's not a technical one, it's a societal one. And I wanted to know how you guys address this at the same time as the interoperability and so forth and so on. Thank you.
Can we just, the challenge is, because...
Acceptance by society.
So yeah, acceptance, okay. Anyone wants to...
Somebody online, do you want to address?
Hold on, I don't know if you're still there. Doesn't sound like it. Anybody wants to?
So I think society looks at what? They look at the convenience of the deployment of the technology and the user friendliness. They are citizens. They don't understand the complexity behind our standards, our technology architectures, and all those. What they need is, has the technology been deployed in a user or customer or citizen friendly manner? If it is done and it's ease of use, ease of interfaces, or the apps or applications, the dashboard that you provide on the smart city platforms, if they are user friendly, I think they will not have any problem. They are rather keen. They are today now tech savvy anyway. So I think that is where we need to look at. Whatever we provide, it has to, the front face has to be very user friendly, very easily, rather than complicated.
Jagan or Sushil, would you like to add something, or?
So I think certainly there was a point mentioned about building greater confidence and trust. I guess the word trust wasn't used, but the fact that by integrating these systems and making the data more freely available, you do build confidence in society and trust. And I think that's definitely the direction in which India is also moving. We do have an open data platforms, as well as not only in smart cities but at a national level as well. It needs to accelerate, and that will require a lot of the ecosystem partners to come on board, but we're moving in that direction.
Thank you. Sushil?
A smartphone, this is a smart device which is used by the user, and mostly the apps and the data from the smart cities or the any sort of information that is transmitted to the user on the smartphone. And I think most of the people in the country, they are able to know how to use the smartphone. So once we create the smart system, we have to develop the smart people also. They will automatically get created. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, one more small point. I think if we involve citizens in the part of the planning and designing the city, I think that will bring more confidence and trust into the system that we are doing. If you bring them on consultation on board while designing this thing, like our smart city mission, when they did the complete scheme or the proposals, they had, I think, pretty high weightage for the citizen participation.
6 million people participated, yeah.
Margot, does it answer your question, or do you want to ask something else?
Fine by me, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wants to ask any question, or you want to have your tea break just behind us? Unless you want to ask a questions to each of you internally. If not, we're going to go into... It's fine? Okay, thank you very much for you. And if anybody else is still online, thank you very much. And thanks for all the... Yeah, all right. All right, so Sushil, I think... Thank you. Okay.
And Laurent, this is for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, okay.
Priya, why don't you also join us?
Yeah.
Priya, you need to join.
Just to make the city smart.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.